You said rather bravely a few days ago, I thought, that the chances of Labour winning a majority were close to zero. I can't remember exact words. But
I think close to zero as is possible to be, as it were, I think is roughly what I said.
That's quite a claim 3 weeks out.
Well, I mean, and then I'll elaborate on a moment. I mean, look, the truth is, the Labour Party is 12 points behind in the opinion polls. They are struggling in Scotland, where they have to gain seats if they're going to win an overall majority. To get an overall majority, the Labour Party is going to have to be at least 5 or 6 points ahead of the Conservatives. So it's a very, very tall order to turn all that way around. But of course, what is true is that because the Conservatives are rather short of friends inside of the House of Commons, maybe the DUP will help to keep in power, but not to get the withdrawal treaty through. But all the other parties are in favour of a second referendum. It's basically the case that so long as the Conservatives don't have a majority or anything very, very close to it, the opportunity will be there for those parties who are in favour of a second referendum to put in a minority Labour administration in order to pursue a second referendum. Now, Jeremy Corbyn may be a heavily constrained Prime Minister in those circumstances, but we certainly can't write off Jeremy Corbyn's chances of becoming Prime Minister, even if we think his chances of having a Labour majority government are frankly deeply remote.
And the key for Jeremy Corbyn, I guess, is to get to 270 seats, because if you have those, and then you have, say, 50 SNP. Now, I'm not suggesting there's going to be a coalition or even a supply and confidence, but there might be an arrangement, in inverted commas. That's his first challenge, to get to that 270, isn't it?
Well, it's 270, but at the end of the day, the honest truth is the minimal challenge is for Labour plus Liberal Democrat plus SNP and Plaid to go over the line. Now, of course, it's true that Joe Swinson, the Liberal Democrat leader, is none too keen on the idea of Jeremy Corbyn as Prime Minister. But I suspect that if the choice is between making Jeremy Corbyn Prime Minister and not having a second referendum and Brexit going through, I think Joe Swinson will be under deep pressure to give Jeremy Corbyn at least a few months in office.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see, I suppose, whether Joe Swinson and indeed Boris Johnson keep their seats.
Yes, I mean, there is a lot of discussion about Uxbridge, but again, given the state of the opinion polls, one would expect Boris Johnson to be able to hang on to it, just given the state of the national opinion polls. To be honest, East Dunbartonshire is one of the few relatively safe seats in Scotland. She has a 10-point majority. She very clearly has substantial personal vote. And the previous SNP MP, John Nicholson, has actually decided to go off and fight a new seat. And there is a Virgin SNP candidate fighting this time. I would suggest to you that that's an indication that probably Ms Swinson is relatively safe, at least at home, if not necessarily elsewhere.
It is interesting that the Liberal Democrats have made no real impact on the opinion polls. In fact, they've gone into reverse. And there was a story in the Times today that said the more people see of her, the less they like her.
Well, that may be true. I mean, she certainly isn't emerging as the most popular of leaders, but that said, she is still more popular than the hapless Tim Farron was 2 years ago. And to that extent, at least, the Liberal Democrats are in a somewhat stronger position than they were then.
So this far out, it seems to me what you are predicting is a Tory majority.
I'm saying it's 2-1 on that the Tories will get a majority, about a 66% chance, but that's not sufficiently far ahead of the point where we could contemplate the possibility of a hung parliament. That this far out, we can assume that that's ruled out.